Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to English with me, Mrs. Elmore. We are going to pick up where we left off yesterday, where hopefully you found it really useful to plan out your explanation text. Today, we are going to revisit those plans, kickstart our writing, and get ready to absolutely boss it together. All right, so a few things you are going to need today. Number one, this video, you guys just keep bossing it. You found me. Well done. The second thing is going to be your plan from yesterday, whether that was typed out or written up on the planning sheet or whatever. You're just going to need to be able to see that. The next thing is something to write on. Again, for some of you, that might be straight onto lined paper. For some of you, it might be typing it up onto a laptop, a tablet, whatever works for you, something to write on. Okay, a couple of things you might want. You can see my success criteria here on the screen. I've uploaded that onto the website if you wanted to print it out. If not, if you want to record that some way, I don't know, write it on the top of your sheet, do a little record in the margin, whatever works for you is fine. The other things I've included, obviously there's still the waggle that was uploaded yesterday, which could be quite useful to help you with your writing again. And also, obviously in class, we would normally use our writer's toolkits, which have lots of different sheets to help us include skills in our writing. I've done kind of a deconstructed writer's toolkit where I've uploaded a sheet for expanded noun phrases, a sheet for adverbs, for possibility and modal verbs, and then there's one on kind of precise vocabulary for describing. Now, if there's anything else you want, be it an I-space sheet, be it a relative clause sheet, just drop me a message and I can send those through to you. Okay, but hopefully if you've got all those things and you're ready to go, we can get straight into our lesson. We're going to begin with, I've got a starter here, which is to orally retell your plan out loud. Now, this is something we've done lots in class before. It just encourages us to kind of think about the structure of our plan, think about those skills we included yesterday. So 2 options here. Might be that you're a little bit lonely today. That's okay. You can read it out loud to yourself as loud as you want, get those skills in. Or if you've got a sibling or a parent who's free, they can listen to you as you read it out loud. Go for it. But remember, try and include those skills that you would put in yesterday. Okay, you put them in there for a reason, get them out loud. All right, so if I let you read those now, you can pause me and come back once you've orally retold those plans. Okay, so hopefully now then we are ready to start writing. Now, firstly, you can write your can I and date at the top of your page. It might be that you just want to get straight in and write your title of your writing, which is obviously how to look after immortals, a guide, or something similar if you want to do your own kind of thing, make it a bit jazzier. Before we begin, again, we always start our writing, our longer pieces of writing, by setting ourselves a target of what we are going to include. Okay, now we've learned and revisited lots of skills over the last couple of weeks. So now is your chance to dazzle us by cramming them into your writing. So you can see, again, like I said, I've got my success criteria here. You can download it. You can easily recreate it, whatever you want to do. And I have chosen a couple of skills here that I think will be really useful. So modal verbs, firstly, I think it's a really quick win. It's something we've been focusing on, and I know it was one that our waggle had lots and lots of modal verbs in. So I've chosen modal verbs. Relative clauses I thought might be a good one because we learnt about them a couple of weeks ago, but we've been revisiting that. I know that you have all been working really hard on where to put those commas, etc. And expanded noun phrases, I've got a feeling I'm going to want to do quite a lot of describing with precise vocab in my work today. So expanded noun phrases, I've shortened it to EMPs. I've included that as well. So if you guys want to pause, you could either choose the same skills as me, your own ones. You might want to choose more than 3. That's absolutely fine. You might have something that you know you've been working really hard on that you want to focus on. Either way, you go for it, guys. All right. And then once you're ready, we'll move on to the writing stage. Okay, so hopefully we are ready to start writing. Now, if we go onto this page, it is looking slightly different to how we would do it in class, purely for the fact that I thought if I try and write onto the screen using my mouse, I have no idea what would come out. I know for a fact it wouldn't be legible. So I've gone for typing instead. Obviously, some of you might be doing that yourselves. Some of you will be producing beautiful handwriting that would put me in what am I saying? Put me to shame. That's what I mean. Anyway, So you can see at the top of my page, I have got my plan that we started filling in yesterday, and hopefully you guys can see your plan as well. So I've got that at the top. Below here, where I'd normally do my writing on the lines, I've started writing a little bit of my introduction. And then down the side here is our skills list. And we know that if we were in class together, we would be doing kind of a shared write introduction where we would be working together to include as many of these skills as possible. And hopefully I can show you what that looks like if you're not quite sure. So if we look, I have started the introduction, and you can see I've started the introduction using parts of my plan, which I've highlighted. There's two reasons we highlight our plan as we go. Number one, it shows us exactly what we need to write next. We can see where we're kind of going on to. Number two, it helps make sure we include all of these skills that we worked really hard on getting in our plan. It makes sure we use them and get them in. Okay, so if we look, I might be about to be hijacked by a cat. He's looking around mischievously as if he might want to join the video. Apologies if he does. So we have, if we look at the start here, I've got my first line, which is, has your life certainly been turned upside down? Now, like I said, I wrote that in my skills section yesterday. All I've done is I've lifted it straight from my skills section, put it into my writing because it's there, it's ready to go. All right, and you can see I've highlighted it off to show I've done that. I've then got, are you feeling desperate for support after the arrival of a peculiar celestial being? Thought I'd try and get my wow vocab in straight away. Celestial meaning something to do with kind of stars and space. And then, do you have nowhere else to turn to? So I've included all three of my questions. You can see I've turned my notes on the top of my page into full sentences here, and kind of added in a few different bits and bobs. So now I am ready to move on to the next part, and I can see what that is, so I need to go on to this section here. Now if I look down the side, I've got I want to try and include a modal verb, an expanded noun phrase, a relative clause, some I space, and I've just put a reminder there that I need to make sure my tense is consistent. I'm writing in paragraphs, and also I'm writing in second person. Now remember, that's the you, your that we write. When we're writing an explanation text, we talk to the reader, don't we? And we can just see, if I look here, I can see that I'm already following that so far. So, like I said, this is the bit where I type instead of write, and I hope that's okay with you guys. So, if I want to get on to my next bit is, if so, read this manual. Now that's quite basic, so I'm going to turn that into hopefully a more detailed sentence. Okay, so I might say something like, okay, if this could be the case, sorry, there's a little meow. If this could be the case, I've got myself a nice modal verb there. So I might want to, oh gosh, I'm ever so sorry. I'm just going to pause so I can deal with this cat and I'll be back. So sorry about that, everybody. I'm sure you got a little flash of a kitty cat botty there. Do apologise. Shall we get back to what we were saying? So if this could be the case, I believe what I was trying to do was highlight the fact that I've got a little modal verb in there. So if this could be the case. Now I've used an ice or a wub up at the start of my sentence. Therefore, what punctuation do I need after case? You've got it, it's a comma. So if this could be the case, and now I'm going to get in, so read this manual. Now I'm thinking this is a perfect place for me to get my expanded noun phrase in. Rather than just saying manual, I can extend that. So if this could be the case, read this, and I might, what words am I going to use to describe my manual? Informative, it's in a list, so I'm going to use my commas. Informative, user-friendly, and what else might I want to say? An essential manual. So I've got my expanded noun phrase in there. We can see that if I just highlight that off in another colour. So read this: informative, user-friendly, and essential manual. And then I'm going ambitious here, guys. And I know you guys will do the same. I am going to get my relative clause in here as well. So remember, a relative clause adds extra information to the noun. It's coming after the word manual. So I'm going to be adding extra information about the manual. So I'm going to use which here. So this could be the case. Read this: informative, user-friendly, and essential manual, which, which is packed full of tips and helpful hints. I've got that in my plan there, we can see. So I'm not having to think of the ideas completely fresh. I've got some notes there, which is packed full of tips and helpful hints. And I can end that there. So let's highlight my relative clause there, which actually I've used to extend my expanded noun phrase. That's something we were looking at last week, isn't it? We can add a relative clause to an expanded noun phrase. There we go. So, woohoo, looking good. Just in my first sentence there, I've included, sorry for the jumbo ticks, I have managed to include all three of those skills, which means I could now try and include a little bit of eye space on my next sentence, I should say. So, let's have a look at my plan as well. What have I done so far? So I've said read the manual, and I've said it's going to have tips and helpful hints. There we go. Aha! All right. I know what I want to do next. So I've said, let's get into this bit. I've said the next bit on my plan is to guide you through. Now, if I wanted to include an I space, I might focus. I know one that lots of people in my class have been focusing on is the S for simile. So getting a simile at the start of our sentence using as or like. Now, if I'm saying something that would guide you through, maybe I'd think of something that would guide someone. So like a compass or like a light in a dark tunnel or something like that. Yes, I'm going to use that. So like a light. Oh, no. I'm going to go for a lantern instead of light, like a lantern in a dark tunnel. Again, I've used a comma because that is my sentence starter for I space. We tend to use commas. Like a lantern in a dark tunnel. This guide will modal verb will help you in your darkest hour. Let's go for that. And then I know I wrote you should read this guide over here. So I'm going to change it up slightly because that wouldn't quite fit with this sentence. So this guide will help you in your darkest hour. You should read it. Okay, so again, if I look back at the skills that I've got there, I've got, what have I got? I've got this guide will help you. Gosh, wrong colour. It will help you in your darkest hour, and you should read it. So that's 3 modal verbs I've managed to get in now. And I've also got an I space. So let's choose blue for I space. So like a lantern in a dark tunnel. Okay, so woohoo, all my skills. And I've managed to turn my plan into a far more detailed introduction packed full of skills. All right, so hopefully, guys, that has given you an idea of what yours could look like. I'm sure you will do a better job than me. And if we just move on to my next screen, a couple of reminders and edit things for you. So you are now going to write the start of your explanation. Now we're going to be writing for today and tomorrow. So what I would recommend is spending today perhaps on your introduction and your first meeting section, perhaps then looking at quests and adventures. But if we say certainly those first 2 boxes, maybe the third, tomorrow will then be spent finishing off. Okay, so couple of reminders as you go. Pack those skills in, choose what you're going to show off and absolutely jam pack them in. Okay, if you're using relative clauses, remember you need those commas. If it's in the middle of a sentence, you want a comma sandwich. If it's at the end, you just use the one before the relative pronoun. And check spellings. We're all really good at using modal verbs and adverbs of possibility. The main thing I'd say is use the word mat. Check the spellings. Okay, you can write however you want. What I would suggest is if you write for 20 minutes, solid 20 minutes, just get writing, then have a 5-minute edit. If you can do it with an adult or a sibling, again, brilliant. Then you can write again for another 20 minutes and then have a final edit for 5. So that's looking at about 50 minutes worth of writing, including the editing time. At the end of the lesson, you can then fill in your day 1 of success criteria and have a think about what you need to focus on tomorrow. Okay. If you want any help, any advice, or just for us to have a look, please send your work through to me or Ms. Rutherford, depending on what class you're on. And we look forward to seeing what you finish tomorrow. Okay. Take it easy, guys. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.